This page is the front cover of the magazine showcasing Mario Party 3 as the main feature for anticipated new games during the year-end and New Year period. It also highlights Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, Banjo-Kazooie 2, Custom Robo V2, and Mickey's Racing Challenge USA as upcoming games. A special feature is dedicated to the 10th anniversary of the Super Famicom. The strategy guide featured is for Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. The cover art includes Mario, Peach, Wario, and Waluigi. The next page showcases adverts for two Game Boy Color games. The first is Dejiko's Mahjong Party, a game where you can play Mahjong with the characters from DG-I Charade. It highlights features like free battles, knockout tournaments, communication battles, and a beginner's guide. It also mentions a release date of December 8th and a price. The second game advertised is Neon Genesis Evangelion Mahjong Completion Project, a Mahjong game themed around Evangelion. Features listed include a scenario mode, the Apostle No. 13 match, free and communication battles, and trading cards. A screenshot shows Gendo Ikari with a, quote, bubble. This page is an advertisement for a 2001 Legend of Zelda calendar, featuring characters from the Nintendo 64 titles Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. It's a reader service offer where you can apply to get this special calendar. Key points highlighted include that the calendar illustrations can be cut out and used as postcards. The calendar comes in a clear case with a stand, making it easy to display. You can apply for multiple sets, and the calendars will be sent to your home within the year. To apply, you need to cut out the application form and send it with 1,000 yen worth of unused postage stamps per calendar set. The application deadline is December 1st. Postmark valid. This page is an advertisement for a MYCOM MOOC book called Wide Techniques, which is subtitled as Collection of Techniques that Decorate the End of the Century Release, and is aimed at all game users. This 2000 Autumn Final Preservation Edition book is a special project looking back at game history from 1984. It includes techniques and game catalog data for 17 different consoles, boasting 15,100 practical techniques and a game catalog of 9,982 titles. The advertisement lists supported consoles like Famicom, Super Famicom, Neo Geo Pocket, PlayStation, PCFX, PC Engine, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, and specifically mentions Nintendo 64 and Virtual Boy, Sega Saturn, WonderSwan, Game Boy, and Mega Drive. The book is priced at 1,500 yen. This page is the contents page of the magazine, outlining what can be found within this issue. The special feature section focuses on Super Famicom 10th Anniversary Special Feature, looking back at 10 years of Super Famicom games, and also highlights Perfect Dark and Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. The new software information section includes details on Mario Party 3, Pokémon Stadium 2 listed as Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, Pokémon Crystal version, Banjo-Tooie listed as Banjo and Kazooie 2, Custom Robo V2, Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum, Mega Man Battle Network listed as Rockman XE, and Daibuken Piboshia. The strategy information section features Mega Man Legends 2 listed as Rockman Dash, and Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2. The regular section includes articles about reader-submitted content, developer interviews, and columns. There is also a game index, which lists games reviewed in this issue along with their page numbers, including games like Custom Robo V2, The Grinch, Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum, Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, Banjo-Tooie, Perfect Dark, Daibuken Piboshia, Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2, Pokémon Crystal version, Pokémon Stadium 2, Mario Party 3, Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, and Mega Man Legends 2. The attention box at the top right features a screenshot from a Pokémon game, likely Pokémon Gold or Silver or Crystal, showing a character and dialogue box. Nintendo's November/December 2000 release calendar highlights upcoming N64 and Game Boy games. The mobile adapter GB was delayed to January 2001 to Dubutsu no Mori, Kari, Animal Crossing, for N64 is featured. N64 releases include Sin and Punishment, Mega Man Legends 2, Banjo-Tooie, Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum, Mario Party 3, and Pokémon Stadium 2, with release dates in November and December. Numerous Game Boy titles were also slated for release, including Monster Tactics, Air Force Delta, Grinch, and several others. Strategy guides for Command Master, Mario Tennis GB, and Perfect Dark were planned for December, along with multiple Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Game Boy versions. This page presents 3 top 10 rankings. The first is the N64 Anticipated New Titles Top 10, which lists games expected to be released soon for the Nintendo 64. Number 1 is Mario Party 3, followed by Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, The Legend of Zelda DD Edition, a disc drive version unreleased internationally, Ultimate War, Banjo-Kazooie 2, Animal Crossing, unreleased at this time but later released internationally on GameCube, Dance Dance Revolution, Disney's Magical Racing Tour, Ultimate War, 64DD version, and finally Cabby. The second ranking is the GB Advance Anticipated New Titles Top 10 for Game Boy Advance games. Top spot is Mario Kart Advance, followed by Golden Sun, Wario Land 4, Fire Emblem, Maiden of Darkness, Tactics Ogre Gaiden, Kuru Kuru Kurin, Game Boy Wars Advance, Konami YY Racing Advance, Rockman EXE, and Silent Hill GB Advance. Finally, the third ranking is the Selling N64 Software Top 10, which lists currently popular N64 games. At number 1 is The Mysterious Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, followed by Mario Tennis 64, Perfect Dark with Memory Expansion Pack, Mario Story, Nintendo All-Star, Perfostor, Great Smash Bros., Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Party 2, Donkey Kong 64, and GoldenEye 007. The page also highlights Perfect Dark in a pickup section, describing it as a 3D gun action game from Rare, similar to GoldenEye, where you become a covert agent using various weapons to complete missions. This page shows results from reader surveys about game goods. It starts by asking, how many goods do you have? Showing a pie chart where the majority of respondents, 58%, own between 1 and 10 items. Another chart asks, what kind of game goods do you have? Listing the top 10 games including Pokemon, Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Kirby, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Siren of the Wind, Dako Demo Isio, Fire Emblem, and Donkey Kong. The next section asks, what kind of goods do you want? And lists popular characters like Link, Pokemon, Mario, Kirby, Fox, Siren, Luigi, Ness, Samus, and Donkey. The page then humorously lists, what kind of goods are no, featuring unwanted or strange goods, like a biohazard zombie lunchbox, siren-themed onigiri, a Nobunaga's Ambition toilet set, an F-Zero child seat, a Siren toilet paper set, a Kirby toilet seat cover, a Bomberman gas stove, a Cupper Bibimbap stone bowl, J2 no Mankey, unknown, and a super extravagant bath set. Finally, a title-based auction starting price top 10 shows the most expensive games at auction, led by Tokimeki Memorial, followed by Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Pokemon, Super Robot Wars, Puyo Puyo, Biohazard, Super Mario, Donkey Kong, and Rockman, Mega Man. This page is a promotional page for Mario Party 3 on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the introduction of new characters into the game and the Dual City mode. The page lists game details like the title Mario Party 3, the developer Nintendo, the release date as December 7th, the price of 5,800 yen, genre as party game, player count as 14 players, and mentions Vibration Pack support. The image is packed with characters from the Mario universe, including Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Wario, Waluigi, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Goomba, Koopa Troopa, Shy Guy, Boo, Toad, and even Piranha Plant and Penguins. The overall theme is a lively party atmosphere with many characters, emphasizing the fun and multiplayer aspect of Mario Party 3. This page is all about the Dual Maps mode in Mario Party, a new feature for two-player battles packed with fresh elements. The goal in Dual Maps isn't about stars like in the main game, but to deplete your opponent's health to 0. Attacking is done using Otakiara characters, which are companion characters you can hire for a coin fee, up to 2 at a time. You'll start with a predetermined Otakiara for your chosen player character. Strategically placing them before or after your main character is key, as each Otakiara has unique attack and defense stats used to target enemy characters. On the board, you'll be competing for empty spaces, turning them into your own, and collecting coins when you land on them. This issue showcases 5 dual map types: Gate-kun map, Yajirushi-kun map, Arrow-kun map, Dokkan-kun map, Pipe-kun map, Fan-kun map, and Conveyor-kun map, hinting that there might be even more to discover. The page walks you through a typical dual map playthrough, starting with getting your first Otakyara, aiming for blank spaces, battling when you collide with rivals, hiring a second Otakyara, and even mentioning gamble games and minigame battles integrated into the mode. This page is about the Battle Royale mode in Mario Party. It explains the rules where players compete to collect the most stars within a set number of turns. The page details the different types of event spaces on the board, including plus spaces that give coins, minus spaces that take coins, spaces with unknown events, spaces triggering chance minigames, battle spaces for battle minigames, gamble spaces for gamble minigames, item spaces for items, and bank spaces to collect banked coins. The page lists various items available in the game, such as mushrooms to roll 2 dice blocks, keys to open gates, cursed mushrooms to reduce opponent dice rolls, reverse mushrooms to reverse opponent movement direction, shopping mushrooms to buy items, warp blocks to swap places, hidden blocks for hidden items, Koopa mushrooms to call Koopa, Stardust, Superstars, Koopa's Bell, Telebell, Magic Lamp, and Item Bag. The purchase cost in coins is listed for each item. Finally, it provides an 8-step guide on how to play, starting with choosing a character, deciding Siam strength, setting handicaps, choosing a map, setting the number of turns, selecting minigame type, choosing bonus settings, and then starting the game. This page introduces 5 different maps that are featured in what appears to be a Mario Party game on the N64. The first map is called High High Lake, where if 2 or more players get on the central ice block, something happens. Penguins are also shown on this map. Next is Jiri Jiri Desert, a map with a twist, where 2 Millennium Stars appear, and players need to figure out which one is the real one by rolling dice to decide who goes first. The third map is Guru Guru Forest, described as a green forest map packed with tricks and mechanisms. It suggests choosing a route that is close to the starting point. Then there is Buku Buku Deep Sea, an underwater map where walking on the seabed is not easy. Giant bloopers and Cheep Cheeps are present, and Koopa events can occur, focusing on coin collection. Lastly, Doki Doki Cave is presented as a map with a spooky and strange atmosphere, featuring lava, underground lakes, and bedrock. This map includes the Koopa Bank and gamble games for players. This page describes several minigames from a Mario Party title. Minigames follow specific instructions and objectives, with the game type often determined by the game board space. Featured minigames include Climb, Block Tower, a 4-player challenge to ascend a tower while dodging Hammer Bros. Hit, Mini Koopa, is a 4-player reaction game to whack Mini Koopas. Rolling Rock Rumble and Spinning Gear Grind are 1 versus 3 games. The first has 1 player rolling boulders and the other 3 climbing, while the second has 1 player dodging projectiles on rotating gears against 3 survivors. Thwomp Stompathon is another 1 versus 3 where players control thwomps. Finally, Bow-Bomb Conveyor Chaos is a 4-player survival game on moving conveyor belts with exploding bow bombs. This page showcases a selection of fun minigames, all seemingly designed for multiplayer enjoyment on the N64 console. First up is Tidy Up Nicely, a 4-player game where players compete to see who can tidy a room to match a starting picture, testing memory skills. Next is Find It, Power Mushroom, another 4-player game where players break blocks to find a power mushroom, presumably to gain an advantage. Munch Munch Big Pizza is a 2 versus 2 team-based game focused on button mashing to devour pizza, with tougher toppings adding a challenge to this eating contest. Obstacle Coaster is also 2 versus 2. Teams race on a roller coaster-like course, dodging obstacles to reach the finish line. Chili Coconut is a 1 versus 3 game, where 1 player is inside a barrel rolling downhill, while 3 others try to knock them off with coconuts from above. Coin Collecting on Rafts, a 2 versus 2 game, has teams paddling rafts to collect coins in a water-based stage, requiring teamwork to navigate effectively. Poparoo Fire Caution is a 2 versus 2 game, where teams work together to extinguish Poparoo's fire using hoses and pumps. Finally, Go! Go! Wooden Horse is a 4-player racing game, where players mash buttons alternately to propel their wooden horses to victory. These minigames are reminiscent of those found in the Mario Party series, emphasizing party gameplay and simple, engaging mechanics for up to 4 players. The next page is all about Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver for the Nintendo 64, which is also known as Pokemon Stadium 2 internationally. It highlights the game's features, stating that it's compatible with the Crystal version of Pokemon games. The page focuses on the game menus, specifically showcasing Battle Mode, White City, Event Battle, and Mystery Gift options. It also introduces the Option Rule Edit feature, where players can customize battle rules, such as Pokemon levels and types. The article explains that the Mystery Gift can be used once a day, and details how to use it by connecting a Game Boy cartridge with a 64 GB pack. The page promotes the game as a great Christmas present and emphasizes the fun of battling with all Pokemon in the 20th century. This page is dedicated to showcasing the many enjoyable aspects of Pokemon Stadium, primarily focusing on its diverse battle modes and additional features. It highlights 4 main cups for battle. The Challenge Cup, where you must use predetermined Pokemon requiring strategic type matchups to succeed. The Little Cup, which restricts battles to level 5 Pokemon that have hatched from eggs and are still in their unevolved forms. The Nintendo Cup, which adopts official rules and is presented as excellent practice for official tournaments. And the Ultra Cup, enabling battles with level 100 Pokemon for high-power clashes, even providing rental Pokemon for those without fully trained teams. Beyond battles, the page details Pokemon courses, encompassing various areas designed for learning and enjoyment. The classroom offers lessons and tests for all player levels. The study room serves as a resource for Pokemon data and information. My Room allows players to customize a room based on data from Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. The Research Lab provides information on Pokemon habitats. The GB Tower feature enables playing Game Boy Pokemon games. Minigames are also available for up to 4 players. Finally, free battles are mentioned for unrestricted matches with friends. The page also confirms the return of the Elite Four Castle mode, promising more details in future magazine issues. This page is all about Pokemon battles. It seems to be showcasing the excitement of Pokemon battles in a game, likely from the Pokemon Stadium series. The page encourages players to enjoy battling with friends and participating in battle scenes. Screenshots highlight gameplay elements and feature various Pokemon in action, including moves like Mareep's Thunder, Quilava's Fire Attacks, Totodile's Surf, and Remaraid's Psybeam. Pokemon like Teddiursa, Quilava, Totodile, Remoraid, Sudowoodo, Snorlax, Hoot Hoot, Ipom, Elekid, Octillery, Togepi, Pichu, Marill, and Quagsire are all visible on the page and in the screenshots. This page is all about the exciting world of Pokemon Stadium 2 on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the core concept that you can use all Pokemon in battles, and emphasizes the importance of choosing the right Pokemon for your team, considering different types for strategic advantage. The page explains that moves and abilities will differ from the Game Boy versions, adding a layer of depth. We can see in-game screenshots of battles happening in the Stadium mode, showcasing Pokemon like Onix and Snubbull battling it out. There's also a description of lowering an opponent's defense stat in battle. The page mentions using strong Pokemon to challenge battles, and it looks like there are descriptions of Pokemon transformations or status changes, for example, a Stantler turning flabby, and a Girafarig having no way out. The page also shows Chikorita using Sand Attack, and the screen becoming dark. Overall, the page gives a good overview of the strategic battling aspects and visual appeal of Pokemon Stadium 2. This page introduces 6 minigames. First is Golbat's Cave Exploration, where you control Golbat using the A button and 3D stick to navigate and collect hearts while avoiding obstacles like electric coils. Next is Iai Giri Battle, a quick-draw sword-fighting game where you need to cut the white line on a target as close to the center as possible for a high score, using the A button to cut. Then there's Eevee's Fruit Dash, a fruit-collecting game similar to musical chairs, where you use the A button to grab fruits appearing in the center circle, being careful to avoid the Kugidama, which cause you to lose time. Barriers Barrier Tennis is a tennis minigame, where you use Mr. Mime's barriers to hit the ball and score by getting it into the opponent's goal, with the A button used to hit the ball, and stronger presses adding spin. Pi and Purin's Count Game is about counting Pokemon. You're shown Pokemon on screen, and you have to count Pikachu using the A button, scoring points for correct answers, with later rounds being worth more. Finally, Donphan's Spinning Race is a racing game where you control Donphan with the D-pad, racing for 9 laps and collecting items called Tsuchigomori to spin out your opponents. These all appear to be mini-games from a Pokemon party game, likely Pokemon Stadium 2, given the characters and style. This page highlights the upcoming release of Pokemon Crystal version for the Game Boy Color. It focuses on new features compared to Pokemon Gold and Silver, starting with the updated Pokédex descriptions, using Sentret as an example. The page then delves into the deeper mysteries surrounding the unknown at the ruins of Alph, prompting players to consider Aoi's Words of Greeting. A new radio program called Aoi's Greeting Words is introduced, hinting that learning these words may unlock special in-game events. The magazine also introduces a new character named Minaki, a young man searching for the legendary Pokemon Suicune, which will lead to encounters and battles. Finally, the article describes the revamped phone system, allowing players to exchange numbers with trainers and receive calls with information about bargain sales or found items, adding a new layer of interaction and anticipation. This page is a thorough strategy guide for the first 3 stages of Banjo-Tooie, known as Banjo-Kazooie no Daibuken 2 in Japan for the Nintendo 64. The article highlights new aspects of the game, teasing the return of the evil witch Gruntilda, resurrected from the depths. Game details include its action genre, support for 1 to 4 players, and vibration packs, priced at 6,800 yen, and scheduled for release on November 27th. The article mentions the game's story revolving around Gruntilda's comeback and an expanded world, promising richer gameplay with new special actions like Kazooie Dash and Egg Missiles. It also promotes an upcoming strategy guide for the full game. This page previews the upcoming game, Banjo-Tooie, detailing new gameplay mechanics and items. Players will learn new actions from Magra Jamjar, including Grip Grab, Egg Aim, Separate, and the powerful Tamago Bakyun, Egg Attack. Mumbo Jumbo, now directly controlled by the player, uses magic to open paths, while Fumba, a new character, transforms Banjo into various forms. Progression relies on collecting items. The article mentions Grobo replacing 1 UPs in magic jars, and honeycombs appear after defeating enemies. Eggs and feathers are plentiful. Key items include jigsaw pieces, collecting 10 unlocks new areas, and musical notes, collecting up to 100. Snoo. The new actions are essential for progress. The page ends with a reminder to check it out before the game's release, hinting at challenges such as defeating enemies like Washi. The next page is a guide focused on collecting jigsaw pieces in Banjo-Kazooie. It details how to obtain these pieces in areas like Spiral Mountain, referred to as Kulukuru Mountain Foot, the Temple area, which is Mayhem Temple, and Jinjo Village. The guide gives hints on using special actions such as Egg Aim, Egg Fire, and Grip Grab to locate jigsaw pieces, offering specific instructions for locations and objectives within these stages to aid player progression in collecting them. This guide offers gameplay tips for the Japanese version of Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Kazooie, focusing on 2 areas, the Plateau area, Kugan area, and Kirin-Kuzan, possibly Kirin Mountain. In the Plateau area, the Fire Egg is key for combat and illuminating dark spaces. In Kirin-Kuzan, players learn the Beak Drill to break rocks and access Canary Cave, Canaria Dukutsu. This area also involves using TNT 15 times. The guide emphasizes Egg Aim and Sidestep for combat, and Grip Grab and Kazooie Dash for climbing to collect treasure in the treasure room, Otakarabeya. Players also need to use the 3D stick to avoid Unga Bunga enemies. Finally, the guide mentions using Umba's magic to transform into Stonies to navigate the Wool Blanket area, Kito Mushiro area, and a trolley race in the Canary Cave if certain rocks are broken. Quote, the next page is a game guide focused on Banjo-Kazooie. It details walkthrough steps for areas within the Mayhem Temple and Witchy World stages. The guide highlights specific jigsaw piece locations and puzzle solutions in areas like Dusky Cave and Crash Hut. It explains how to trigger events by interacting with objects like boxes and switches, using abilities such as Bomb Eggs and Separate to progress. The guide also mentions a boss fight within a tent, reached after collecting tickets from a slot machine. It also lists special actions needed in the Crazy Castle area, including Cactus Power, Beak Buster, Beak Drill, and Bomb Egg. This page covers Banjo-Kazooie tips and tricks, highlighting various jigsaw locations and minigames. In Crazy Castle, there are minigames involving bursting balloons and using turbo trainers. For the Dive of Death area, you need to climb a pole and jump to the top. In the Inferno area, the Separate Pad and Green Switch are key, along with Kazooie's Whirlwind Attack. The Space Zone area uses Mumbo's magic to transform into a money transport vehicle for bumper car battles. In the Star Spinner area, Mumbo's magic is again needed to ride moving stars to a Saturn platform to get a jigsaw. The final jigsaw in Kirin Mine is found behind a rock in the trolley tunnel, broken with bomb eggs, and the UFO ride in the sky tent in Stage 3 is also mentioned. The page also reminds players about collecting gingers, noting their random colors, and that there are 16 in this section. This page previews Custom Robo V2 for the Nintendo 64, focusing on the game's scenario just before its release. It highlights obtainable robots and parts during the departure arc, up to Takuma's graduation from cram school. The page lists stages, opposing commanders, and robots and parts acquirable in each scenario. Some examples include battles against Polar Bear to obtain the Sidewinder Pod F, Kaiser Head, and battles against Takezuru to obtain the Standard Bomb S and Speed Pod D. It also mentions acquiring the left shoot bomb H by defeating Pico, and the three-way gun by defeating Schmidt. The page suggests this is just a portion of the robots and parts available in the game. This page highlights the journey arc in Custom Robo, reaching its climax as the story progresses towards the evil organization Guerrilla's base. The article explains that after graduating from Takuma Cram School and winning the Marine Park Festival, the protagonist and friends face a serious situation. Nanase and Taihei have been kidnapped by someone. The heroes infiltrate the Guerrilla's base to rescue them. The page details battles inside the base, where the player fights alongside companions like Genta and encounters Yuri and Taihei captured. An unexpected character is also said to appear during this infiltration. There's a section about Guerrilla's trio, featuring character art of Koteng, Horanji, and Ruga, emphasizing them as key figures in the Guerrilla's organization. A table lists parts obtainable through base battles, divided into parts for commanders and robos. Some examples include Dark Fighter for commanders and Bit, Corona, Joker Head, and Rook for robos, along with robot and part names like Umbrella Pod, Crescent Bomb P, Acrobat Bomb P, Seeker Pod G, and Stabilizer Leg. The article then moves towards the 5-storied Tower of Gorillas, where the Gorillas trio and powerful commanders await at the top. Finally, it introduces the dual type of Sword and Fang, a powerful robo named Bayonet, born from the combined strength of Sword and Fang, appearing in the 5-storied tower. This robo is described as being incredibly powerful. Screenshots show gameplay within the base and the dual-type robo, Bayonet. This page is all about the Fierce Fighting chapter, a new addition to the popular Nintendo 64 game, Custom Robo. The page title screams, "Giant Custom Robo, Jameson Defeat!" highlighting a powerful enemy named Jameson. It explains that after the travel chapter, players will dive into this new exciting, Fierce Fighting chapter, promising even more heated battles. New battle rules and trophy collecting are introduced as fresh elements to the gameplay experience. Screenshots show in-game action, with dialogue boxes showcasing new challenges and interactions. There's also a table outlining various stages in this new chapter, detailing the battle rules for each stage, the opponent commanders and their robots you'll face, and, importantly, the robots and parts you can acquire by winning. This table seems to be a guide for players to prepare for the challenges ahead in the Fierce Fighting chapter of Custom Robo, helping them strategize their robot builds and plan their progression. This document details customization options in Custom Robo, N64, focusing on 3 combat styles. The first build, for Metal Bear, prioritizes wide area attacks using the Stardust Gun, Straight Bomb G, Feint Pod F, and Short Vernier Legs. The Stardust Gun controls the field, and the Straight Bomb G follows up on hits. The second build, featuring Planeta, aims to master the Arc Gun, utilizing the Light Arc Gun, Delta Bomb, Jager Pod F, and Quick Jump Legs. This build suits experienced players due to the Arc Gun's aiming difficulty, which requires strategic angle shots and cover. The final build, for Vermil, centers on speed and the Knuckle Gun, using the Knuckle Gun, Freeze Bomb, Seeker Pod F, and Stabilizer Legs. The Freeze Bomb is used to stop the opponent's movement, allowing the close-range Knuckle Gun to attack. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, which was later released internationally as Mickey's Speedway USA. The page highlights the exciting 4-player battle mode of the game. It mentions that this game allows you to enjoy racing with Disney characters, a familiar genre for N64 users. The characters appearing include Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and other popular characters. The page features game information including the title, publisher Nintendo, a release date in Japan of January 21, 2001, a price of 6,800 yen, genre as a racing game, player support for 1 to 4 players, and support for the Vibration Pack. Screenshots show the character selection screen with Mickey, Daisy, Donald, Goofy, Pete, and Minnie, and in-game racing action on tracks based on locations in America, such as Indianapolis. The text also mentions the opening sequence being important, and that you can use race cars and chase after weasels in the game. It notes that the stages are based on locations in America, and that the two-player mode uses a split screen, with support for up to 4 players. This page is showcasing the game Mickey's Speedway USA, a kart racing game featuring Mickey Mouse and his friends. The game's opening demo introduces Professor Von Drake as the developer of the race cars and a helpful ally. However, the story involves a character called Pirate Whistle, who seems to be causing trouble. The page highlights different courses, mentioning locations like New Mexico and San Francisco, and shows off gameplay elements like speed tokens and items within question mark boxes. It also details game modes such as time trial, where you race against the developer's ghost, and a 2-player battle mode with vertical split-screen options. The courses are described as varied, including wide roads, city streets with steep hills, and courses with items. This page is dedicated to the Nintendo 64 game Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum. It highlights the game's features, stating that it is packed with Disney characters and songs for singing and dancing. The game is praised for its high-quality sound, exceeding expectations for a cartridge-based game. The page mentions that the game is perfect for families to enjoy together, especially due to the inclusion of vocal tracks. Screenshots show gameplay, with Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Chip and Dale, and Goofy, all dancing in different stages. One screenshot features Chip and Dale dancing, while another shows Daisy Duck dancing, with a focus on her para-para dance. Another screenshot shows the It's a Small World stage, emphasizing that it includes vocal songs. The page also mentions a dedicated controller for Dance Dance Revolution, which is sold separately and recommended for a more immersive experience. It points out that the session mode allows for solo play. The release date is mentioned as November 30th, with a price of 7,800 yen. Game. The game genre is described as a dance and musical instrument performance session simulation game, and it requires 256 MB of memory. This page is dedicated to Metal Slader Glory, Director's Cut on the Super Famicom, highlighting it as an NP rewritable SFC software adventure game that was released on December 1st for 2,000 yen. The game plunges you into a mystery set 8 years after a major war. You play as Hikari Mukaido, a work machine cockpit operator who uncovers a cryptic message within a Metal Slader. This message hints at a looming danger to Earth, and reveals secrets about Hikari's father, Masada, and a special Metal Slader unit called Glory. The page introduces the main characters. Hikari Mukaido, the protagonist, lost his father in the war 8 years prior. Elena Afarfa is Hikari's classmate and girlfriend who provides support and advice. Asuka Mukai is Hikari's cheerful and slightly immature 12-year-old sister. Gameplay-wise, Metal Slader Glory isn't a straightforward linear adventure. Your choices throughout the game impact the dialogue and graphics, leading to branching scenarios, meaning you'll need to play multiple times to see everything. To continue your game, you use a password system. Passwords are displayed in sentences during gameplay, and you input them on the title screen under the Continue option. Screenshots showcase in-game scenes and character conversations, giving a glimpse into the game's visual style and narrative. One screenshot even mentions Masada da Himukai as a pilot's name. The game encourages players to explore various paths and dialogues to fully experience the story and its different outcomes. This page is a preview for the N64 game Rockman Hagain no Bukenshin, known internationally as Mega Man Legends. The page details the beginning of the adventure, from the start to repairing the Flutter airship. It highlights 3 early missions. First, rescue the old man in the junkyard, where you must help an old man trapped in a subgate within the Apple Market after finishing the detective demo in Town. The second mission is VS Tron and Kobun, where you get a citizen card from the police, go to Central Town, and talk to the mayor. The final mission previewed is VS Bon Bon, which occurs after the Tron and Kobun fight. Here, you defend the city hall from the Bon Bon family, starting with the Mecha Merv and Hornice battles, focusing on attacking Bon Bon from behind when he is vulnerable beneath. The screenshots show gameplay moments from these early sections, including finding the Power Razor, the initial ruins area, the Flutter ship crashed and in need of repair, rescuing the old man from the subgate, the battle against Tron and Kobun with the blue robot key enemy, and the fight against Bon Bon focusing on attacking his weak spot. This guide provides strategies for several missions in the Japanese N64 game, Custom Robo. To obtain the B-Class Digout license, players must speak to the mayor after completing a mission. Defeating Dieselborn involves using the Power Cannon Kit and Power Buster. Reaching the Garden Forest Subgate requires the A-Class Digout license and the Yellow Reflector, utilizing starter parts to activate starters. The Juin Lake Subgate is accessible via a boat repair using the Yellow Reflector, featuring Zufu-grade enemies. The Balkan Great boss fight strategy focuses on using homing missiles initially, targeting turrets and arms after entering the shallows, and employing the Power Buster. Finally, the Red Reflector, found in the Juin Lake Subgate, is used to repair a robot, focusing attacks on the boss's head. This page is a preview for the Game Boy Advance title Rockman EXE, which was planned for release in late March 2001 by Capcom. The game is an action title for 1 to 4 players and is compatible with the GBA Link cable and mobile system GB. The article hints at a story where a new teacher in Neto's class might be involved with the Global Network Terror Organization, WWW. Screenshots depict classroom scenes with characters like Neto, Hikari Neto, and Roll, alongside battle gameplay featuring Mega Man. It seems the story revolves around network crimes occurring at school, and the WWW organization attempting to manipulate students, possibly through drill programs and educational software. The article discusses how WWW's scheme started to control students in classrooms, and Neto and Rockman are investigating these incidents at school. This page introduces Rockman EXE, known internationally as Mega Man Battle Network. The page details a scenario where an evil virus is attacking school computers, and to combat this, Dex attempts to plug into the network from the blackboard but fails. Now, it's up to Neto, Lan, and Rockman, Mega Man, to step in and resolve the situation, with assistance from Mail, and her Navi Roll. The screenshots showcase the isometric gameplay of navigating the cyberworld, battling viruses, and even using passwords to progress through areas like the library. The page highlights Dekau's Navi, Gutsman, emphasizing his strong punch attacks. This page is a strategy guide for the Japanese-only Nintendo 64 game, Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shirin, to Oni Shiro Taisen, or Mystery Dungeon, Shirin the Wanderer 2 Oni Castle Battle. The guide focuses on conquering the Onigashima dungeon and delves into the Golden Room and weapon synthesis. It provides tips for players venturing into the later stages of Onigashima, highlighting the importance of item and weapon synthesis for progression. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including item menus and dungeon exploration. The guide details how to synthesize weapons and explains the conditions for obtaining powerful and rare items, especially within the Golden Room. It also mentions specific locations like Suten Doji Mountain Trail Upper Level and Nakabara's Well, with their respective appearance floors and probabilities. The page emphasizes strategic item usage and weapon enhancement as crucial elements for success in the game. Floors 16 to 25 of Onigashima lead to a final battle with Oyabun. Floor 16F features Garaha and Ghosts, requiring strategic combat. Floors 17 to 19F intensify difficulty, with water dragons and diverse monsters, including a chaotic mix of enemies. Floors 20 to 21F introduce simultaneous monster attacks, especially the Tiger Wuhao. Midori Toto always drops items. Floors 22 to 24F are fiery and smoky, with the Pow Pow King and Oni Sonori. Avoid fire attacks and paralysis. Floor 25F is the Oyabun Showdown. Oyabun is strong but weak to poison and paralysis. Strategy includes using fire attacks to limit movement, then close-range attacks, utilizing items, and drinking sake to restore health. Body armor is recommended. The Shrine's Hidden Hole dungeon spans 99 floors. You can capture monsters by throwing pots at them, and they will fight alongside you within this dungeon. However, you can only bring pots. Item drops are rare. Tabarir monsters, found on floors 15 to 20, can be fed to level up other monsters. EI monsters guarantee a sword or shield drop if you're in a pot state. The objective is to reach floor 60 to defeat the Queen Spider. Captured monsters can be entrusted to the Mononoke Kingdom and retrieved even if defeated. Auxiliary monsters like Super Guys, Confuse, Marujiru, item drop, and Petite Feni, heal, are recommended, along with rice balls for sustenance. The next page delves into the dungeon Well in the Middle of the Stomach, from 1F to 99F, focusing on mastering traps to navigate it. This dungeon and mystery dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer, is unique because Shiren can strategically set traps, which monsters can also trigger. The guide encourages players to use traps to gain experience, especially in monster-heavy rooms. Utilizing tools like pickaxes and tunnel staff to create tunnels is recommended for strategic advantages against monsters who have limited vision in tunnels. Traps are also essential for escaping dangerous situations, such as being surrounded by enemies. The guide highlights specific enemy types like flying monsters, which are immune to ground traps, and picotan, which destroy traps. Clay figures can be strategically used to lure monsters into traps. Finally, the Trap Master's bracelet found on the 10th floor is mentioned as a key item allowing instant return to town. The Silene Road page chronicles unfortunate experiences in Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2's Unhappy Bragging Contest. Players submit tales of woe, reflecting the game's challenging nature. Stories include losing a storage pot full of items, being put to sleep by a hypergazer while disarmed, and failed item synthesis leading to a major Gitan loss. Other entries detail throwing a pot at a mimic, losing items to rolling stones, and humorous encounters with weak monsters. One player accidentally transformed into Swiftness Grass. The page perfectly captures the unpredictable highs and lows of the Shiren experience. The next page introduces Pinobi, Quest of Heart for the Game Boy Advance, an action game developed by the creators of the Sonic series and published by Hudson. This adventure game is based on Pinocchio, where the main character Pinobi, a mechanical bee created by a genius inventor, embarks on a journey to find his true self. The story involves rescuing his grandfather who has been kidnapped by the evil insect army. Pinobi will use actions like running, flying, and dashing throughout stages filled with flowers and traps, battling insect-shaped robots. The page highlights the boss of the insect army named Bester, who is using the grandfather's technology to create insect robots. The screenshots show gameplay with vibrant graphics and various actions Pinobi can perform. This page is an advertisement for a Nintendo Game Strategy Guidebook, a collaboration between 64Dream and Nintendo Stadium. It is the first volume of the series, scheduled for release around December 1st. The book aims to cover most Nintendo games, particularly focusing on Nintendo 64 titles. With future volumes planned, the book emphasizes easy-to-understand diagrams and a comprehensive index, with both guides being a 5 size. 2 games are highlighted with dedicated sections. Firstly, Mario Tennis GB for the Game Boy Color. The guide is priced at 980 yen, and it boasts a method to train your custom character type to defeat Mario and achieve continuous victories, even in the N64 version of Mario Tennis. Secondly, Perfect Dark for the Nintendo 64, priced at 1,280 yen, promises perfect mission completion strategies, complete walkthroughs of all stages with CG maps, full coverage of battle stages and game secrets, and even includes hidden techniques for GoldenEye 007. The book is published by MYCOM, with contact details provided for inquiries. The next page showcases sticker sheets featuring Mario Party 3 with various Mario characters. There are also stickers of characters and items, and stickers featuring Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver with Pokemon characters. Game titles listed include Banjo-Kazooie 2, Mario Party 3, Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver, referring to the Japanese versions of Pokemon Stadium 2, Rockman Dash, Mega Man Legends, and Disney's Dancing Museum. This From Letters section, dated January 2001, reflects on the year 2000 in gaming. Readers share their favorite games, with Siren 2 and Majora's Mask highlighted. Anticipation surrounds upcoming releases like Vagrant Story and Pokemon Crystal. Readers suggest magazine names for new consoles, request GBA cases, and speculate on celebrity endorsements for GBA commercials, reminiscing about past ads. The magazine celebrates its 50th issue, with readers looking forward to future content, particularly about the GameCube. A Rumor About Mario section addresses a reader's question. Reader-submitted artwork related to several games are showcased. Finally, a reader reminisces about Christmas, the end of the 20th century, and recommends buying classic consoles. This page is from the GameSoft Fan Club section, and talks about reader submissions and requests for Nintendo 64 games. The first section, Smash Bros. FC, discusses fan anticipation for a sequel to Super Smash Bros., with readers expressing excitement and suggesting characters they'd like to see in Super Smash Bros. 2. Reader comments mention wanting more maniacing characters and requesting illustrations. The next section, Slow Fox FC, focuses on Star Fox, It mentions that while some expected the next title to be a puzzle game, the editors hint it might be a mixed genre type of game. Readers are also requesting a remake of the Super Famicom Star Fox game on the Game Boy Advance. One reader humorously comments that Fox's face looks like a small Castella cake. Star Fox 64 is also mentioned in the context of fan artwork and submissions. Finally, the Zelda Princess special feature highlights fan art of Princess Zelda. It mentions that many illustrations were received after a request. There's a note about the Game Boy Color version of a Zelda game being delayed until spring, and the title changing from Chapter of the Sky to Chapter of Time, potentially referencing The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, which is sometimes nicknamed Tokioka. This page is about fan feedback and requests related to various Nintendo franchises. For Fire Emblem, fans are heavily anticipating a GBA version, remembering the cancelled N64 version and hoping for a great scenario. They're also asked for ideas for combination attacks for Fire Emblem characters. Moving on to Pokemon, the question is which game people will buy: Pokemon Crystal or Pokemon Stadium on N64. Crystal is touted for new drama, and opinions are sought about rival characters. There's a section hoping for the Mother series to be revived on GBA, referencing an interview with Mr. Itoi about porting Mother 1 and 2 to Game Boy. Ogre Battle fans are encouraged to send in postcards and illustrations, with excitement for a potential GBA Ogre Battle game. Lastly, the page touches on the GameCube, questioning what launch software people desire, with Mario being a popular answer, and asking for ideas for Mario on GameCube, referring to it as Mario FC. Readers are also invited to send postcards with their FC names. This page is a manga page titled Dream Runner by Shigehisa Nakawe. It's a humorous comic strip starring characters from the Super Mario series, specifically Bowser and Bowser Jr. The story, titled Koopa's Departure, depicts Bowser deciding it's time for Bowser Jr. to become independent, following their family tradition. Bowser Jr. is initially reluctant, being woken up from his nap, but is eventually presented with the idea that he needs to find his own servants as part of this independence, according to the family tradition outlined in a book called Servant Encyclopedia Complete Collection. This page of the 64Dream magazine showcases a manga strip starring Bowser, who is determined to build a bigger and better castle than his previous, smaller one, and even bigger than his father's. He confidently states he can build a castle on his own due to his strength, before then questioning if strength alone is enough. The page also announces a renewal for a manga series called Dream Drunker, mentioning the introduction of Bowser's father in a modern-day setting, along with new characters. It reassures fans of the previous Dream Drunker that it will still appear sometimes, but notes that in this updated setting, Link is not yet born. This Dream Drunker series could be related to the N64 game Diddy Kong Racing, given the title and context within the magazine. This page showcases a comical manga strip starring Bowser, who is proudly displaying his plans for a flying castle and attempts to recruit a Shy Guy as his minion, only to be repeatedly rejected. The strip continues, with Bowser encountering another Shy Guy and mistaking him for a lost child, declaring he's too busy for childish matters. The page also features a section called Illustration Postcard Introduction, where fan-submitted artwork is displayed. These postcards include drawings of Mario and Kirby, with messages from readers to Mr. Nakawe, and mentioning their fondness for Mario and Luigi and the challenges of using watercolors. The Dream Drum section highlights reader contributions, mentioning various names from different prefectures like Osaka, Aichi, and Kanagawa. It also includes a message of encouragement to Nakaho-sensei, and notes that transformation themes are currently popular among submissions, and that an outer character is making a reappearance, though who or what this refers to is unclear without further context. This page presents a manga strip featuring Bowser and a Shy Guy character, likely from the Super Mario universe. The story begins with Bowser dismissing the Shy Guy as too weak to be a minion and telling him not to follow. The Shy Guy initially seems relieved when Bowser appears to give up, but Bowser then questions the Shy Guy, asking if he is lost and where his parents are. Bowser is surprised to hear that the Shy Guy was thrown from a ship in a storm and drifted ashore. Bowser then recognizes the Shy Guy as one of the pirate ship guys and asks if he's a pirate child. Initially unimpressed, Bowser declares his minions should be stronger. However, in the final panel, Bowser changes his mind and decides to make the Shy Guy his #1 minion. The text at the bottom indicates this is a continuing manga series within the magazine featuring Bowser and Shy Guy's adventures, promising appearances from nostalgic Super Mario World characters and unexpected personalities in future installments. The magazine is also still seeking illustration postcard submissions, and they have newly created a dedicated space for these submissions and to continue supporting New Dream Drinker. The manga ends with "To be continued" and a speech bubble stating, "Next issue, it's my turn." This page from the Almost 64 Copy School column features reader-submitted jokes and parodies about Nintendo heroines, specifically for a contest. Submissions are categorized by platform, including GBA, and general Nintendo heroine sections, encompassing characters potentially from N64 games, such as Princess Peach. The column highlights the popularity of submissions, especially those related to big sister characters. The next issue's themes include Pokemon, Nintendo hardware, related to the N64, and Dream Drinker. The column is ending in March 2001, but will be renewed in April, encouraging readers to submit content before the deadline. The mailing address for submissions is provided. This page is a Shoot 'em special feature covering two major shooting game titles, Perfect Dark and Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. The page highlights Perfect Dark for page 56 and Sin and Punishment for page 64. Three characters are illustrated against a fiery background, likely representing the featured games. This page is a promotional feature for the Nintendo 64 game Perfect Dark. It highlights the game's mission structure, focusing on infiltration, information gathering, breakthroughs, rescue, and escape scenarios. The page mentions that the story starts with Joanna rescuing Dr. Carroll from the Datadyne Corporation, leading to a global-scale espionage plot. The game is introduced as Mission 3 onwards. The screenshots show in-game action with Joanna Dark engaging in combat and navigating environments. Game details are provided, listing the title as Perfect Dark, published by Nintendo, currently on sale and priced at 5,800 yen for the software alone, or 7,800 yen with the memory expansion pack. The genre is 3D gun action for 1 to 4 players, requiring the memory expansion pack. The bottom text encourages players to master the game's tests and start their missions. The next page of the magazine provides gameplay tips for GoldenEye 007. It emphasizes that missions are not just about combat, but about infiltration and stealth. Key advice includes avoiding unnecessary battles to conserve ammo, especially on harder difficulties. It suggests using corners to your advantage with sidestepping, aiming for headshots for quick kills, and utilizing silent punches to subdue enemies quietly or eliminate them if they are civilians. The page also stresses the importance of mastering weapon performance through practice at the shooting range and using the environment to your advantage by fighting with your back to a wall to minimize angles of attack. Finally, it highlights the importance of reading mission briefings thoroughly to understand objectives and hints, which are crucial for success and enjoying the game fully. Mission 31, Chicago Infiltration, tasks the player with infiltrating a Chicago building. First, retrieve hidden items from the drainage system. Then, quickly plant a transmitter on a limousine, preferably from the drainage ditch. Secure an escape route by placing remote explosives within the building, avoiding civilian casualties. Next, use a data-linked taxi as a diversion. A successful explosion is the goal. Finally, infiltrate the G5 building. Avoid the elevator initially. Utilize the taxi diversion for distraction, and be prepared for heavy enemy resistance to succeed. The next page is a mission briefing for Mission 32 GS Building Reconnaissance, which is a mission in the N64 game Perfect Dark. The mission objective is to record a meeting within the GS building. The guide outlines 5 key steps. First, disable the communication jamming system to prevent alarms. This involves fighting guards to obtain a keycard and using it to shut down the system located underground. Second, turn off the laser grid. The guide suggests that even on the hardest difficulty, this and recording the meeting can be done before disabling communications. It recommends sending in a CamSpy drone through a ceiling gap to bypass the laser grid. Third, record the meeting. Approach the meeting room and use the CamSpy through the ceiling gap to record. It warns that an alarm will stop the meeting, emphasizing caution. The guide also notes the F2 button for zoom and reminds the player of door codes and weapon locations. Fourth, obtain a personality backup from a safe on the 2nd floor, belonging to Dr. Carroll. It warns that opening the safe with the door code will trigger a guard attack, making combat unavoidable. Finally, escape the building after acquiring the backup. The guide recommends using remote mines to open the exit door. suggesting planting the bomb immediately after entering the door code for optimal timing. The final instruction is simply to escape the building to complete the mission. Mission 41. Area 51 Breakthrough from Perfect Dark requires players to infiltrate the base and complete 5 objectives. First, destroy the underground radar system using a grenade after navigating the front gate, avoiding turrets and landmines. Second, establish a communication link by attaching a comms link to a satellite dish. Third, destroy 3 anti-air robots located near the radar and parabolic antennas before they take flight. Fourth, access the storage area via an elevator activated with a keycard, dealing with enemies inside. Finally, rendezvous with a spy in the storage area's depths, eliminating enemies encountered along the way. The next page is a walkthrough for Mission 42, Area 51 Rescue, in the game Area 51. This guide details the steps required to complete the mission, which are: 1. Obtain a uniform. The guide instructs the player to enter the locker room. Obtain a uniform from a locker. Wearing a uniform is crucial for the next objective. 2. Destroy the database. The player needs to infiltrate the database room, which is locked. The guide mentions using an explosive device provided by Jonathan to blast through a wall and gain access. Inside, they must use a data linker with a virus to destroy the computer database. 3. Check the cold sleep capsules. The player is directed to a room with cold sleep capsules. They need to check all the capsules using an X-scan to locate the friend being held there and confirm their safety. 4. Acquire the medical examination room keycard. To proceed, the player needs a keycard. The guide advises to defeat the researchers in the medical examination room to obtain the keycard. 5. Rescue survivors. Using the keycard, the player should go to the accident site in the medical examination room to rescue the friend. The guide warns that there will be security guards and researchers, suggesting to use stealth weapons like the Slight or G-Launcher to avoid unnecessary combat. Once the locked door is opened with the keycard, the player must rescue the friend to complete the mission. Mission 43 of Area 51, Area 51 Escape, tasks players with rescuing a Mayan alien friend. The objective is to secure the alien's rescue and escape using their UFO. The walkthrough involves 5 key steps. First, secure surgical equipment while avoiding poison gas. Next, find and meet Jonathan. Then, infiltrate a secret storage area, protecting Jonathan while he plants a bomb. Following the explosion, awaken the Mayan alien using the surgical equipment. Finally, escape from Area 51 by defending Jonathan as he opens the hatch to the UFO. Jonathan escapes via hoverbike, while the player departs in the UFO. This page showcases the cooperative and versus mission modes in Perfect Dark. It highlights the fun of playing together in cooperative missions, where players can either work closely together, splitting tasks for speed, or even engage in friendly fire for added chaos. For versus missions, the page suggests different playstyles, such as overwhelming enemies with numbers, becoming a dangerous sniper, or engaging in close quarters unarmed combat. The page encourages players to try out these varied mission styles in Perfect Dark to fully enjoy the game's multiplayer capabilities, noting that split-screen play is possible. The next page showcases Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, a Nintendo 64 action shooting game. The page features artwork of 2 characters, a woman with a gun looking shocked, and a blonde-haired character with a confident smirk. The text on the page includes phrases like Jiminy Tsuzuka Arunga and Tsuzuka Arunga Tsutsu Tonarunga, likely character dialogue or related to the game's story. Engine. Information about the game in a table states it is published by Nintendo, was released on November 21st, and is currently on sale for 5,800 yen. It requires 256 MB of memory plus backup, and supports 12 players and the Rumble Pack. The genre is listed as action shooting. This page is about the N64 game Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, which was only released in Japan. The page describes it as a jet coaster-type shooting game, emphasizing its intense and raging shooting action. The page explains the basic controls and techniques, highlighting the importance of dodging enemy attacks and quickly counterattacking. It mentions using jump and rolling actions to evade attacks, and Z-trigger for shooting. A continuous press of Z-trigger unleashes a powerful sword attack for close-range combat and deflecting missiles for counterattacks. The story setup is outlined, detailing a future where food shortages led to new food sources and mutated creatures called ruffians emerging in Hokkaido, Japan. These creatures are attacking humans, leading to the rise of armed volunteers to combat them. The protagonist seems to be involved in this conflict, with the story focusing on themes of combat and survival against mutated threats. The game is structured in missions, with each stage culminating in a boss fight against a central commander. The current mission range being showcased in this magazine issue is missions 00 to 13. This page is a prologue introduction for the game Sin and Punishment. The story begins even before pressing the start button. Set against a backdrop of ruffian group attacks on Tokyo and a military group planning their escape, the character Saki is depicted in a dreamlike state within a burning field. Characters like Radon, chosen as Brad's aide, and conversations surrounding Brad and Radon's bloodline are discussed. Gameplay begins upon choosing between easy and normal difficulty levels, with easy mode recommended for newcomers, though it's noted even then it might be challenging. Screenshots display action sequences, showcasing enemies such as dragon-like ruffians, and encounters including a central commander. The objective revolves around escaping Tokyo using a trailer, fighting through armed volunteer groups and other adversaries. Dragon enemies are vulnerable at their faces, and defeating them grants a time bonus. This page appears to be a strategy guide for an action game on the N64, possibly titled Ruffian and Brick Volunteer, although no official English title is apparent, suggesting it might be a Japanly release. The mission is titled Mission 71. The guide starts by describing the mission objective. 3 individuals planning to steal a trailer to escape the capital, facing barricades set up by volunteer forces. The first tip shows how to destroy a trailer by targeting its cockpit section at the front. Another tip advises using the sword when enemies using missiles appear, and suggests counterattacking. The guide mentions that most obstacles can be destroyed, encouraging players to increase their hit count by destroying them. It also details how to deal with enemies that use rolling attacks by effectively using rolling to cut through them. For commander enemies, the guide highlights the central eye-like part as a weak point, recommending focusing attacks there. When confronted with aerial ruffian enemies, it advises securing a high hit count by shooting them down quickly. Against a central commander, the sword is described as highly effective, suggesting to close in and attack. Missiles are also recommended as an effective attack method against missile attacking commander types. Finally, for commanders using plasma attacks, jumping to evade is the suggested tactic. This page details Mission 12, Shinjuku Station, in an action game where the goal is to reach the top floor using an elevator. The page features gameplay tips for navigating this stage and defeating enemies like Radon and Kachua. The text explains that, at Shinjuku Station, the 3 characters use the elevator to aim for the top floor, but are ambushed by armed volunteers and the villainous ruffians. Radon and commander sidekick Kachua also appear on the top floor. Gameplay tips include defeating enemies on lifts by destroying the lift itself, and dealing with enemies on hoverbikes by destroying them one by one. Laser devices on both sides should be destroyed first. It mentions using sword attacks against approaching enemies. Regarding boss fights, the page advises focusing on evasion when Radon is attacking, as he is invulnerable during his attack phase. After his attack ends, players should use sword attacks. The page suggests jumping to dodge Radon's attacks. When fighting Kachua, players should wait for her to charge and then counter with a sword strike. If you drop Kachua from a building, you can deal significant damage and also attack her. Finally, the page describes Radon's attack when flying, suggesting this is a chance to inflict major damage. Radon summons various objects and uses his sword in combination with ranged attacks, indicating a challenging fight. Defeating Radon leads to Kachua as the next opponent, who uses psychic powers for unpredictable attacks. Defeating the Commander-class Ruffian allows progression to the rooftop. This page is about Mission 13 of the Nintendo 64 game Kakusei Hisho Kachua, which translates to Awakening Flight Kachua. The mission is titled Kachua and Saki's Decisive Battle. The story begins with Saki defeating Kachua, causing a catastrophic event where Tokyo starts to collapse and Saki gets consumed by magma. It is revealed that Saki has transformed into a beastly form after receiving blood from a holy maiden named Aki. The page gives gameplay advice for defeating Kachua, who appears as the boss. It explains that in the first form, you can anticipate attacks by observing arm movements. It advises focusing on dodging while targeting the blue light in the center of Kachua. For the second and third forms, Kachua's health is low, so accurate attacks are key for a quick defeat. The text mentions that in normal mode, defeating Kachua with lock-on can take time, suggesting manual attacks might be faster. The screenshots show gameplay footage of the boss battle and dialogue scenes. Characters mentioned include Saki, Kachua, Akichi, and Brad. There are questions posed like, what is Kachua? And dialogue snippets that hint at a deeper story involving Achuati and Brad. The page concludes by saying that defeating Kachua clears the stage, and suggests that reaching this point without using continues is desirable. This page is an advertisement for the official guidebook for the game Command Master. It highlights that the guide will feature a perfect catalog of all 80 Neosu creatures that appear in the game. The guidebook is announced to be released on December 1st, and is described as the strongest strategy book. It's also noted to be a 64Dream official guidebook, published by Enix. The American gaming market saw significant activity, headlined by the October 15th launch of Pokémon Gold and Silver, which sold 1.4 million copies in its first week after a celebratory event at Fort Knox. Popular N64 titles like Majora's Mask, GoldenEye 007, and sports games continued to perform well. Upcoming N64 releases, including Hey You Pikachu and Banjo-Tooie, were anticipated. Perfect Dark was highlighted as a separate game from GoldenEye 007. While the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 were also releasing games, the N64 remained popular, suggesting developers were still optimizing its capabilities. This page is a section called Teach Me Ageru, featuring this month's Death Hermit Returns. This edition is part 3 and focuses on the topic of memory. It starts with a question about why data needs to be read into memory. The response explains memory, using a ramen analogy, comparing the CPU to a cook, ingredients to game materials, and memory to the ramen bowl. If the memory bowl is small, you can't put many ingredients in it, leading to a poor ramen experience, like a weak game. Conversely, larger memory allows for richer gameplay with more elements. The page mentions that memory expansion packs for the N64 can increase the number of enemies that appear on screen and improve graphics resolution. There's also a user question about peppercorn items being sold in red nets, resembling mandarins, and priced around 380 yen. The Death Hermit responds humorously, recalling his own childhood pranks with nets on his head. This webpage presents reader reviews of several N64 games. Gauntlet Legends is praised for its 4-player cooperative gameplay, easy controls, and constant action. Perfect Dark receives acclaim for its improved AI, challenging multiplayer battles, and enhanced enemy behavior compared to GoldenEye. Fushigi no Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, is lauded for maintaining its strategic core while adding numerous new elements, including a helpful companion and improved graphics. WWF WrestleMania 2000 is reviewed with surprise and enjoyment, despite the reviewer's initial skepticism about the popularity of American pro wrestling games in Japan. The page concludes with a call for manuscript submissions, offering toy tickets as compensation for accepted reviews. The next page features a section titled N64 Forum Readers' Letters. 2 letters are presented. The first letter is from a reader who is not enthusiastic about the upcoming GameCube, preferring to continue enjoying the N64 and exploring the potential of the 64DD. They express disappointment that the 64DD is not more widely known and utilized, suggesting that Nintendo should focus on games for the current hardware. The response acknowledges the reader's point, highlighting that while Nintendo is a software maker, they also need to consider hardware sales and are aiming for third-party support. The second letter discusses the importance of third-party participation for the N64. The reader believes Nintendo should actively encourage third-party developers and recognize their significance for the N64's success, referencing the SNES era as a successful model. The response agrees, emphasizing that Nintendo is aware of the need for third-party support and is working to improve this aspect, acknowledging that users want a variety of games beyond just Nintendo's own titles. It's mentioned that Nintendo aims to learn from past mistakes, implying a need to improve their relationship with third-party developers compared to the N64's situation. Games like Biohazard, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest are mentioned as examples of titles users would like to see on the N64. The next page presents a reader submission section titled Reader's Voice from 64Dreamland. The top section, Poisonous Words Are Dangerous, features a conversation about the GameCube announcement and the perceived difference in direction from the N64. The discussion touches upon whether games should prioritize development ease, and playability, and whether DVD and online functionality are necessary selling points. There's a sentiment expressed that Nintendo should maintain a sense of softness and flexibility, rather than strictly adhering to rigid lines. The second section, Heartache and Flattery Mouth, seems to be about game balance, specifically regarding Kirby and Super Smash Bros. One reader expresses frustration with Kirby's perceived strength and Easy 2's nature, arguing that it makes other characters less appealing and simplifies gameplay too much. Another response defends Kirby, suggesting that while he might be strong, he is not unbeatable, and there are other skilled characters in the game. Below these sections is a reader survey section, which includes various reader comments and anecdotes. These cover topics like experiences with games like Harvest Moon 2, frustrations with Space World waiting times, quote, requests for strategy guides and information about games like Alice Soft's Oni Gundam, questions about LANnet and online gaming with the 64DD, discussions about favorite game genres and reasons for buying magazines, memories of playing Mario Tennis 64 and Golden Sun, GBA, funny anecdotes about school trips, quizzes, and gaming-related mishaps. Now, the page concludes with submission guidelines for readers to send in their letters and opinions to 64Dream magazine. This page dives into a price survey conducted in Akihabara for Nintendo 64 games. It highlights that while Akihabara is known for game shops, prices aren't necessarily the cheapest compared to other regions. However, the concentration of stores makes it easier to find bargains if you are diligent. The article mentions that game prices tend to drop quickly in Akihabara, citing examples like The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and Gauntlet Legends, which have seen recent price reductions. The table lists a wide range of N64 titles and their prices in Akihabara, including popular games such as Castlevania 64, Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, Winback, Covert Operations, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, Weetrix, Aerogauge, Excitebike 64, Extreme G Series, NBA in the Zone Series, F-Zero X, GoldenEye 007, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, Custom Robo, Chameleon Twist Series, Gauntlet Legends, Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, and SimCity. Many Japan-exclusive titles are also featured, such as various J-League soccer games, Mahjong, Bass Fishing, Japanese Pro Baseball, Shugi, and Goemon series titles. The article advises shoppers to explore local shops in Akihabara for better deals and to compare prices across different stores to secure the best possible price. It suggests that smaller shops might offer more competitive pricing than large chain retailers. This page lists Akihabara prices for Nintendo 64 games, showing both regular retail prices and discounted Akihabara prices. It includes a wide variety of titles such as Star Fox 64, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, Zelda titles, Donkey Kong 64, and Pokémon Stadium, among many others. The table also details release dates, publishers, player numbers, and compatibility with accessories like controller packs and rumble packs. At the bottom, there's a section discussing Game Boy software prices in Akihabara. This page is showcasing the Nintendo Power Cartridge Rewrite service available in Lawson stores in Japan starting December 1st. It highlights software for both Super Famicom, SFC, and Game Boy, GB, systems. The page details that SFC game rewrites cost 1 book and GB game rewrites cost 6 books within the Loppy system in Lawson stores. The page lists available games for rewrite, separated into SFC and GB sections, and categorized by genre like ECT, RPG, SPT, and ACT. For SFC, titles include popular games like Super Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3, Super Metroid, Street Fighter II Turbo, Rockman 7, Mega Man 7, and Super Mario Collection. There are also RPGs like Dragon Slayer and action titles like Super Bomberman 3. For Game Boy, the listed genres are ECT, RPG, SPT, ACT, and ECT, color-specific. Notable GB titles mentioned include Picross NP Volume 18, which seems to be highlighted as a new addition, Picross NP Volume 8, and Metroid 2, Return of Samus. The page also shows game titles, the number of blocks needed, the manufacturer, and the price for each game, seemingly 1,000 or 2,000 yen depending on the title. The text emphasizes the Metal Slater Glory Director's Cut for SFC and Picross NP Volume 8 for Game Boy, as noteworthy titles in this new software update for the Nintendo Power Service. The image includes screenshots of game lists presented in tables, but no specific game screenshots or characters are shown beyond the textual lists. This page is an advertisement for the Super Famicom 10th anniversary. It highlights the console's release date of November 21, 1990, and its price of 25,000 yen. It mentions the success of the Super Famicom over its 10 years, including sales figures for consoles and software, emphasizing its enduring popularity. This page celebrates the launch of the Super Famicom in 1990 as Nintendo's new console, boasting 9 launch titles. It highlights the anticipation and immense popularity, even facing shortages upon release. The page lists the Super Famicom launch date as November 21, 1990, priced at 25,000 yen, and mentions launch titles like Super Mario World, F-Zero, Pilot Wings, Final Fight, Gradius 2i, and Bomberman, all released on the same day or shortly after. The article also emphasizes the Super Famicom's greatly enhanced performance over the original Famicom, with a 16-bit CPU and improved graphics, showcasing screenshots of Super Mario World and F-Zero to illustrate the improved visuals and gameplay. It specifically describes F-Zero as a revolutionary racing game with futuristic hovercrafts and incredible speed. 1991 was a pivotal year for gaming, especially for the Famicom. 47 titles were released, solidifying its position with popular series and ports. Key releases included SimCity, Final Fantasy IV, Area 88, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and the masterpiece, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Super NES, launched in America, bundled with Super Mario World, offering a good price compared to Japan. The year saw sequels and diverse genres, with games like Area 88 and SimCity showcasing innovation. 1991 also marked the beginning of the CD-ROM era for home consoles. The Mega CD and PC Engine Super CD-ROM Squared were released, with Sega and Sony pushing toward this technology, laying the groundwork for future consoles like the PlayStation, and featuring games such as Sonic CD. 1992 was a landmark year for gaming, with 176 titles released and several genre-defining hits. The Super Famicom saw significant releases. Street Fighter II popularized the fighting game genre, fueled by its arcade success. Mario Paint introduced a unique mouse-driven drawing software, a novel input method for consoles. Super Mario Kart was a massive success, selling over 3.82 million copies and establishing itself as a fun, accessible racing game. Finally, the RPG genre was represented by Dragon Quest V, Hand of the Heavenly Bride, and Final Fantasy V, sequels that showcase the power of graphics and music while utilizing save battery technology to enhance the player experience. A 1993 Super Famicom anniversary feature highlights key releases and technologies. The FX chip is introduced, allowing for polygon graphics, exemplified by Star Fox. Other games like Wild Tracks, Yoshi's Island, Marvelous, Another Treasure Island, and Super Mario RPG utilized special chips as well. The Super Scope set, a light gun, is also featured, bundled with Super Scope 6, a collection of shooting games. The Super Mario Collection, containing the first 4 Super Mario games, is lauded as a definitive release. Key 1993 game releases include Star Fox, Densetsu no Ogre Battle, Street Fighter II Turbo, Torniko no Daibuken, and Dragon Quest I and II, among others. The page is framed with Dr. Mario and Luigi artwork. This page from a 1994 Japanese gaming magazine discusses the sheer volume of game releases that year, with a record-breaking 370 titles hitting the market. It notes that RPGs and sports games, particularly baseball and soccer, were hugely popular on the Super Famicom, Super Nintendo. The page highlights several games released in 1994. In February, we saw the release of Darby Stallion 2 and Itadaki Street 2. March brought GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 94, Power Pros Baseball 94, and the 3DO console's launch title, 3Do Real. April saw Final Fantasy VI released. May introduced J-League Excite Stage 94, and June had the Super Game Boy accessory. July brought Mother 2, Earthbound in English. The article also mentions the release of new hardware towards the end of the year, including the Game Boy Bros., Sega Saturn, Super Donkey Kong, PlayStation, SUPER32X, and PC-FX. It emphasizes the arrival of 32-bit CPUs and CD-ROM technology, marking the beginning of the next generation of gaming consoles. Screenshots on the page show gameplay from GameCube Powerful Pro Yakyu 94, J-League Excite Stage 94, and Mother 2. The page also mentions the technical advancements in graphics thanks to CG integration and the improved sound capabilities of new hardware, suggesting a shift towards more advanced gaming experiences. 1995 in gaming saw numerous releases, but wasn't Nintendo's strongest year. The Virtual Boy's launch disappointed, while the Super Famicom received a price reduction. The year saw the release of Chrono Trigger and the innovative Terranigma, which featured a rare in-game clock. A significant development was the launch of Satellaview, a satellite data broadcast system for the Super Famicom. This service delivered images, audio, and games, including exclusive content like BS Zelda no Densetsu. The Super Famicom Hour featured programs and minigames. Also highlighted was Furai no Shiren, Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer, a challenging turn-based RPG known for its harsh mechanic of resetting the player's level upon death. 1996 saw significant gaming developments. DreamTag Production Super Mario RPG, a Square and Nintendo collaboration, featured Mario and an allied Bowser in an adventure RPG. XBAND launched on April 1st, enabling online battles for home consoles via a modem, though the service closed after a year and a half despite initial popularity. The Nintendo 64 debuted on June 23rd with a less-than-stellar launch lineup, while the Game Boy Pocket was also released. On August 14th, the SFC SNES main unit saw a price drop. Kirby Superstar, Kirby Super Deluxe, was a highlighted title, praised for its action gameplay and variety. Derby Stallion 96 maintained a high price point. In December 1997, to celebrate the Super Famicom's 10th anniversary, Nintendo launched the Nintendo Power Rewrite service in Tokyo. This system, available in Lawson convenience stores, allowed players to rewrite game cartridges. Initially offering 30 titles, the selection expanded to over 100 by March 1998. Rewriting cost 2,000 yen per game, plus the 3,980 yen SF memory cassette. A list of available and unavailable games from December 2000 is provided. The page also introduced the Super Famicom Jr., a cheaper and more compact console, but lacking the expansion port of the original, impacting Satellaview compatibility. The final packaged Super Famicom games mentioned were Kirby Bowl 3 and Rockman and Forte. Finally, the page lists release dates for various games and consoles from 1997-1998. This page reflects on the Super Famicom (SNES) gaming scene around 1999-2000, highlighting its continued relevance despite being an older console. Nintendo continued to release new games, including the Picross NP series and a remake of Metal Slayer Glory Director's Cut. The Satellaview service ended in June 2000 but was popular. The article celebrates the console's 10th anniversary, reminding players of its legacy. With a total of 1,447 games released, the article encourages players to cherish and continue playing their Super Famicom. A top 10 list of best-selling games is included, as well as a chart illustrating hardware shipments and game releases. A timeline of events from the period is also presented, showcasing other consoles and game releases. A special feature from a 64Dream magazine commemorates the Super Famicom's 10th anniversary. Editorial staff members each share their top 5 SFC games. Sauhen's favorites include Mother 2, Earthbound, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Super Mario Kart. Wataru lists Super Mario Kart, Dragon Quest VI, and Final Fantasy VI. Mashi chooses GameCube Powerful Pro Yakyu 2, Dragon Quest V, and Yoshi's Island. Kei Shoujo's picks are Dokapon 321, Mother 2, and Street Fighter 2. Endo selects Libble Rabble, F-Zero, and Famicom Detective Club Part 2. Machi's favorites consist of Bishoku Senshi Torikara, Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon S, Kondo wa Puzzle de Oshioki Yo, and Seifuku Densetsu Pretty Fighter. Lastly, Nuki Sensei's choices are Sansara Naga 2, Assault Suits Valken, Cybernator, and Mother 2. Reader gifts of SFC software are announced at the feature's end. This page is an Ask Nintendo Q&A section. It features a character profile on Mr. Saturn, known as Dosei-san in Japanese, from Mother 2. Gigas Strikes Back, Earthbound on SNES. The profile mentions he debuted in 1994 on the Super Famicom. The Q&A section addresses a question about the Nintendo GameCube, specifically asking about its strengths. Nintendo's answer highlights that the GameCube is designed to be easy for software developers to create games for, which has resulted in an increase in developers working on GameCube titles. They emphasize that the ease of game development allows for more creative and enjoyable games for players. Nintendo also hints at a hidden strength of the GameCube that they are keeping secret from rival companies, promising it will be surprisingly impressive. The page includes images of Nintendo's new company building and a Pikachu display, possibly from a gaming event. The Q&A discusses various aspects of the upcoming Nintendo GameCube. The console's logo is still under development, with Nintendo GameCube currently in use, but a distinct mark is expected. The AC adapter design is pending finalization, but a laptop-style adapter with a mid-cord brick is planned. The GameCube's handle is permanently affixed for stability, easier handling, and to prevent drops. The controller is designed to be smaller and more ergonomic than the N64 controller, catering to younger players. Regarding a GameCube version of Perfect Dark, a demo video was shown, but no confirmation of a GameCube release was provided, while emphasizing the N64 version's upcoming release. The Ask Nintendo section answers reader questions about the N64 and Game Boy Advance. Regarding the N64, Nintendo assures continued support despite the GameCube's launch, emphasizing the appeal of its existing game library. The company clarifies that they do produce RPGs like Paper Mario and Pokémon, differing from traditional RPGs in their focus on gameplay. The Game Boy Advance's name derives from its development code, AGB, Advance Game Boy, signaling evolution. Nintendo plans to release the Game Boy Advance on March 21st, showcasing it in 4 colors initially, with plans for up to 56 color variations. The page also references popular titles like Pokémon Gold and Silver, and acknowledges the broader gaming market. Nintendo's Game Boy Advance Q&A reveals details about the upcoming launch. The console is targeting approximately 10 launch titles, including games like Mario Kart, F-Zero, Kuru Kuru Kururin, and GB Wars. Cartridge capacity will match the N64 Zelda, Ocarina of Time, at 256 megabits. Kuru Kuru Kururin is being developed by EIG-HTING, marking their debut collaboration. The game features cute characters and simple, engaging gameplay. The Game Boy Color version of Zelda no Densetsu has been delayed until March. The Link system will connect The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages, allowing data transfer and enhanced gameplay. This page is a question and answer section covering various topics. Question 15 asks about why Pokémon changed from color names to crystal names, with the answer clarifying it refers to Pokémon Crystal version, and it's based on the crystal-like design and the story of Suicune from Pokémon Gold and Silver. Question 16 asks about the reason for the delay of the mobile adapter GB release. The answer states the priority was for players to fully enjoy the software first. Question 17 is about the status of the Pokémon theme park, confirming there is no progress due to land issues, but the global development of Pokémon centers is proceeding. Question 18 asks how commercials are made. The response details the process, which varies by software, but generally involves deciding the release date, engaging an advertising agency, presenting the software, holding orientation meetings, receiving storyboards, selecting the best, and then production, which includes filming, CG creation, and game footage capture. Mario Tennis GB is mentioned as an example, with a storyboard image of its commercial shown. The page includes an image of the mobile adapter GB, connected to a Game Boy Color, and a picture of the Pokémon Suicune. This page features the Nintendo Question Box Q&A section. Question 19 discusses the upcoming commercials for Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, mentioning the appearance of Watabiki Katsuhiko and the timing of the CM release alongside a new Pokémon game and Banjo-Kazooie 2. It also mentions a Mario Party 3 CM starting on November 26th, which emphasizes minigames. Question 20 asks about the best-selling game in the Mario series, and the answer is Super Mario Bros. On the Famicom, with 6.81 million copies sold domestically and over 40 million worldwide. This figure excludes racing and sports Mario titles, but the entire Mario series surpasses 50 million sales globally. Question 21 inquires about the number of Nintendo employees worldwide, stating that there are 2,806 employees as of March 2000, with 1,103 based at the Kyoto headquarters. Nintendo's new headquarters is expected to be completed in October and occupied in November. The page also includes an image promoting World First Game Prize recognition related to Pokemon, featuring Watabiki from a Pikachu Genki Dechu CM. There is a ranking table of domestic software shipments, and a call for readers to submit questions to the Nintendo question box. Finally, there is an image section called Nintendo Likeness Box, showing fan art. This page is discussing Sega's change in direction and potential collaborations with Nintendo and Microsoft. It highlights Sega's plan to provide software and hardware support to other companies, mentioning Microsoft's Xbox as a likely partner. The article questions if Sega games could be playable on Xbox in the future and notes industry speculation about this collaboration. The page also mentions Mr. Kayama from Sega, who is quoted regarding Sega's desire to make Sakura Wars on Dreamcast and Game Boy Color a major hit. The article suggests Sega is aiming for unique ideas beyond conventional game industry norms and seeking to expand beyond the game industry itself. Additionally, there is news about LandNet DD service applications being temporarily suspended from October 31st due to an overwhelming number of applications, indicating high demand for the service. The article questions if this service will be discontinued and discusses new services being considered for LandNet DD. Finally, there is an event report about the 4th Pokemon League Nintendo Cup 2000 held in Tokyo on November 3rd. Featuring the game Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver for the Game Boy. The event included battles against Pokemon Stadium King and featured regional qualifiers from across Japan. The finals were scheduled to be broadcast on TV Tokyo around January 2001 on Mario School. There is a screenshot from Sakura Wars with the character Sakura Shinguji introducing herself, mentioning it is a popular Sega game on Game Boy Color and Dreamcast. This page features several news snippets. Firstly, there's an announcement for a new Game Boy Color accessory called Picado Light from Moragang, designed to illuminate the screen in dark places. It uses a bright white LED and is designed with Pikachu elements. Next, there's news about the Power Pro Pocket baseball game series from KCEO, Konami Osaka. The latest installment, Power Pro Kun Pocket 3, is in development for the Game Boy Advance. The article highlights new features like the Waku Pro Pocket mode and improved gameplay. Konami is also introducing a unique game fund concept for their Tokimeki Memorial series. This financial product allows users to invest in game development. The first target for this fund is a new Tokimeki Memorial game, tentatively titled Tokimeki Memorial 3, Temporary. There's a campaign for Furai no Siren 2, Siren 2, The Wanderer, where buying the game at Ito-Yokado or Jusco stores gives you a chance to win original Siren goods. MYCOM Books is opening an online service where you can order articles from 64Dream magazine, offering access to past content via the internet, available from 64Dream's website. Finally, news of a lawsuit. Uri Geller is formally suing Nintendo in Japan. He is seeking damages for the unauthorized use of his name and image, particularly related to Pokemon, claiming the character Kadabra's design and abilities are based on him. He demands a cease to the use of his image, and is seeking hundreds of millions of yen in damages. This month's Mario Club highlights 4 games. Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, Nintendo 64, is a praised 3D shooter with innovative controls and impressive visuals. Tales of Fantasia, Narikiri Dungeon, Game Boy Color, features a costume system with over 100 options that alter character abilities. Mario Tennis GB, Game Boy Color, offers accessible yet deep tennis gameplay with character transfer to Mario Tennis 64. Lastly, Donald Duck, Goin' Quackers, Game Boy Color, is an action game starring Donald Duck. The magazine also includes news about a manga artist and a call for submissions for 4-panel manga. 64Dream and Nintendo Stadium are collaborating to produce official strategy guides, starting December 1st with guides for Perfect Dark and Mario Tennis GB. Further guides are planned for Banjo-Tooie and Mario Party 3 within the year, and in the new year guides will cover Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Crystal version, the legendary Starfy, Donkey Kong 2001, Animal Crossing, and Zelda, Oracle of Ages, Seasons. In other news, Pokemon Gold and Silver won an award for its network features. A second Mario Tennis 64 tournament is planned, utilizing save data from the controller pack. Additional news includes Ichiro Suzuki joining the Seattle Mariners, and Hashimoto Toru, governor of Kochi Prefecture, being featured with a Zelda poster in Weekly Fuji magazine. This page introduces the Game Boy Color title, GB Herobots, a battle RPG from Sunrise Interactive. The game, priced at 4,800 yen and slated for a December 12th release, is about Hero and Yu's great adventure. The story is set in a world where Hero robots and humans coexist. Players will take on the role of Noboru, who visits the Hero Research Institute, just as a character named Baro suddenly appears. Gameplay revolves around robot battles, emphasizing robot attributes such as power, life, wisdom, and courage, which affect combat. Players can customize their Hero robots using robot data and engage in communication battles with friends via link cable. Another feature highlighted is Recombine, possibly a remote control or transformation mechanic. Screenshots showcase gameplay and menus, featuring characters Noboru and Hero. The page emphasizes considering robot attributes in battle and utilizing combination chips to enhance robots. It also details the communication battle mode for player versus player action and item trading. It seems like the game did not have an international release. This page highlights the upcoming Game Boy Color title, The Tower of Druaga, Com Dungeon Strategy, which is a remake of the classic The Tower of Druaga game. The page sets the scene by explaining the story. Long ago, the Sumerian Empire built the Tower of Babel in Babylon, but the tower's blue crystal rod was stolen by the evil Druaga, plunging the land into darkness. The goddess Ishtar bestowed a golden armor upon the hero Gilgamesh and the priestess Kadaya, who then worked together to seal Druaga and restore light to Doluraga. The page introduces Emperor Valstuka as a key enemy character, along with other monsters that players will face, like skeletons and mages. It also mentions that 100 years after Gilgamesh became king of Babylon, the Sumerian Empire attacked Babylon again. Prince Gilgamesh, son of the hero, is now facing the Empire's overwhelming forces. The article previews further enemy characters such as the Hooded Man and Draskell, and hints at the power they possess. It mentions that players will acquire spell cards instead of golden armor, receiving them from the gods to conquer dungeons and collect jewels. The gameplay shown in the screenshot involves navigating dungeons to defeat Valstuka. The page concludes by encouraging players to defeat Valstuka in this new adventure. The game is scheduled for release on December 15th by Namco, priced at 4,500 yen. This page is all about the Game Boy Color game, Telefang. It highlights the core gameplay mechanics revolving around battling with Denju, which are like electric creatures you collect using a cell phone device in the game's story. The page explains the attribute system, showing how elements like mountain, forest, water, sky, and desert interact, creating advantages and disadvantages in battles. It emphasizes strategic battles by choosing Denju based on their attributes. The page also introduces the elite value, which influences a Denju's strength and is determined by its birth month, making some Denju born in certain months stronger than others. It showcases version exclusives, limited Denju, with Crypt being exclusive to the power version and Fangus to the speed version. Finally, it details the D-Melody feature, where players can create their own ringtones, which are used in the game, adding a customization element. The page lists Denju available in each version. Power version including Crypt, Antheos, Byakubu, Keshi, Hyugi, Kirigingu, and Tsubakia. Speed version includes Fangus, Damnos, Tsunas, Eringo, Maoran, Gozumu, Gentiana, and Bashu. The next page is focused on two Game Boy Color games playable on the Nintendo 64 using the Transfer Pack accessory. The first section highlights Mario Tennis GB, noting that this month's focus is on character development. It explains how experience points are used to allocate abilities and create unique characters in the Game Boy Color version. It mentions that players can send their developed characters to the Nintendo 64 game Mario Tennis 64 using the 64GB pack, Transfer Pack, to compete with their created characters. The page introduces characters Harry and Kate as partners for the protagonists Alex and Nina respectively, and emphasizes the balance and level of characters. The second section previews Monster Tactics, an RPG game for Game Boy Color. It introduces the hide-and-seek battle gameplay, where players enter dungeons, defeat monsters to obtain Montaku items. The article explains how partners are used in dungeons, and that skills vary based on character attributes. It also mentions a Montaku center in town for buying and selling Montaku, and using a pocket printer, further detailing how Montaku items can power up characters and skills in the game. This page highlights two Game Boy Color titles, First up is Dragon Quest II, then Into the Legend, a role-playing. It details the game's opening scene where the hero, on their 16th birthday, embarks on a quest to defeat the demon lord Baramos. A new feature for this version is the monster medals. These medals are dropped by defeated monsters, and there are over 150 different kinds to collect, categorized as gold, silver, and bronze. Players can even use a link cable to trade medals with friends. The second game featured is Donkey Kong 2001, an action game. This title is described as a puzzle action game, where Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong have to rescue bananas stolen by the Kremlings. It features single-player and versus modes, and also infrared communication for multiplayer. There are bonus fishing minigames, where you control Engarde to catch fish. A new element is the green banana. Collecting these green bananas in the game allows you to get seals, which can then be printed using a pocket printer if you have the accessory. This page announces 3 Game Boy Color titles. Grandia Parallel Trippers, an RPG releasing December 22nd for 4,500 yen, features a card battle system where players collect and synthesize cards. The story follows Yuhi, who must find keys to seal Gurgen. Momotaro Dentetsu One Right Pointing Arrow 2, an RPG from Hudson, releases January 1, 2001 for 4,300 yen. It includes a time capsule system to carry over data from the first game, and focuses on collecting and using demon cards. Samurai Kid, an action game from Koei, is slated for a winter release at 3,980 yen. Players control Homura Maru, a prince using 3 weapons, Huton, Katana, and Ugi, with unique properties, reminiscent of the Mystical Ninja series. This page previews 4 Game Boy Color games. First is Grinch, released November 22nd, where you play as the Grinch in a puzzle action game, trying to stop Christmas by stealing presents from the townspeople. Next is Hamunaptra The Lost City, tentative title, released November 30th, an action game based on the movie The Mummy. Players can switch between 3 characters and solve mysteries in a puzzle action-style gameplay. Then there's Poppin' Music GB Disney Tunes, released November 22nd, a music game featuring Disney characters and popular Disney songs, with over 10 songs included and designed for easy play. Finally, Dance Dance Revolution GB2, released November 16th, is the second portable version of the popular rhythm game, including a dedicated controller and many popular songs from the series, perfect for playing anywhere. This page details 3 Game Boy Color titles. First up is Command Master, an action game by Enix, slated for a November 22nd release at 5,900 yen. It uses motion sensor controls, where you physically move the Game Boy to control characters called Neos. There are 8 different teams to choose from, including Peacekeeping Force NPF, World Savers, Machinery X Borgs, Fighting Animals, Soul Combats, Magical D-Side, Shine Busters, and Space Bouncers, each with unique traits. Neos have 5 types of skills: Force, Team, Arts, Energy, and Gale. And these skills have rock-paper-scissors-like relationships. Next is One Piece, Dream Luffy Pirate Gang's Birth, an RPG from Banpresto, due in February 2001 for 4,500 yen. It is based on the popular One Piece manga and anime series. You play as Luffy and explore 7 seas, charting your own course on the map. The game features a map-making system, where the map expands as you explore, and choices affect the story in an IF branching system. Lastly, Treasures of Baobei is a simulation game based on the Senkaiden Houshun Engi anime. It's set to release on November 24th for 3,980 yen. In this game, you collect Baobei treasures, which are like important items in the story and can be customized or traded with friends. You use Reiju orbs to customize the treasures, and the game emphasizes collecting and customizing these items. The Illustrations Grand Hall page is a collection of fan art submissions for the Mario Parent-Child page. The editor expresses appreciation for the contributions and encourages further submissions before the end of the century. The page features various illustrations, each with descriptions and artist details. The artworks showcase a range of characters and games, including Pokemon, Silver, Crystal, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Wonder Project J2, Forbidden Siren 2, Mario and Peach, and The Legend of Zelda, Dark Link. The illustrations depict themes of parent-child relationships, romance, and humorous portrayals of popular characters, demonstrating the diverse creativity of the readership. This page features fan art for the Mario Bodyguard Squad section. The top half displays art by children under 10, including Link and Ruto drawings, references to Majora's Mask, and illustrations from Wanpuro J and Kirby. The bottom half, illustration fan letter, showcases art from older fans, with drawings of Link, Pokemon characters, and Kirby. This section also includes letters from fans. These letters range from simple praise and requests for specific character art, Daisy, Star Fox, to expressions of fondness and questions for fellow fans. A concluding message from Watanabe Kaya-san. Thanks, all contributors. This page displays fan art submissions centered around the theme, Everyone Together, showcasing various Nintendo characters and games. The artwork features characters from titles such as Siren's Party, Earthbound, Pokemon, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Kirby, Fire Emblem, Super Smash Bros., Mario Tennis, and more. Artists from across Japan contributed illustrations, accompanied by comments reflecting on the theme, the characters, and the games. The submissions highlight the heartwarming and collaborative aspects of the featured franchises, with many artists expressing enjoyment in the idea of characters coming together. This page is a section called 4, Manga House, which seems to be showcasing fan-made comic strips focused on Nintendo games, specifically Mario and Zelda characters. The first comic strip at the top left features multiple Marios and Luigis, with a joke about there being Mario 128. The next comic strip features characters resembling Zelda and Link, discussing in-game items. Below, another comic shows Luigi and Yoshi seemingly in a forest setting, and another has Samus from Metroid interacting with Link from Zelda, who gets comically electrocuted in a Smash Bros. Style scene. The comic at the bottom left shows Peach and Mario in a humorous scene with camera and replay features from a game, possibly related to capturing gameplay moments. Finally, the last comic strip seems to be a more abstract and surreal joke, featuring a character with a chest of drawers for a head. Each comic strip includes a small text panel, which is likely the name of the person who created or submitted the comic strip. This page is a collection of fan-submitted illustrations. There is artwork featuring Ariel from Disney's The Little Mermaid, and then a series of illustrations based on video games. The Legend of Zelda is a popular subject, with multiple fan arts depicting Link and Zelda in various styles. Dragon Quest IV is also featured, and there's artwork related to Dragon Quest in general. Other games mentioned are Pocket Monsters, which is Pokemon, and Mother. Some illustrations are specifically related to The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Kirby is also depicted alongside a female character in one of the illustrations. There are also comments from the submitters of these illustrations, expressing their thoughts and feelings about the games and their artwork. One person mentions wanting a PC and enjoying video games and anime. Another talks about the worldview of a game being impressive. Someone mentions Uger64 and playing as Paul, which might refer to a character or game style within a game. Another comment mentions Zelda as a golden course. One person talks about Grandia, being a big RPG on Game Boy and enjoying Siren 2 and Siren GB2. Someone mentions playing Pokemon Crystal and choosing a girl character. Another person talks about Kirby being enjoyable. There are also mentions of Mother 2 in relation to editing. Finally, one comment mentions the magazine's release date, coinciding with exam season, and wishing good luck to students. This fan art page, Super Mario Parent and Child Defense Force, showcases reader submissions across various Nintendo franchises. Sections highlight art for Fire Emblem, Star Fox, including human Star Fox interpretations related to Star Fox 64, The Legend of Zelda, with potential references to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and Hybrid Heaven, Animal Crossing, Animal Forest in Japan, and a stylized Carfei art piece referencing Star Fox Puppy. A humorous section explores character appearances. An illustration contest and lists of reader rankings are also featured. The page's core is emphasized by a prominent drawing of Mario, tying back to the title's focus. This page is focused on Dream Techniques, or Doraiku, for N64 games, featuring tips and tricks for Perfect Dark and Mystery Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2. For Perfect Dark, there are two techniques. One allows players to easily get Goldie in the shooting range by exploiting a pause and quit trick with the laptop gun, though it may not work with all weapons. The second Perfect Dark technique explains how to easily clear challenges by setting up a game with simulants, loading specific settings, and then having a player leave, allowing the challenge to start with advantageous rules like weak simulants and one-hit kills. For Mystery Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2, the technique describes how to infinitely synthesize items in the warehouse. This involves capturing Magellan-type monsters, entrusting them to the Mononoke Kingdom, retrieving them in the warehouse, feeding them items for synthesis, and defeating them with fire-marked weapons to complete the synthesis, which can be repeated as the monster returns to the kingdom. This page details Dream technique tips for N64 games. Perfect Dark tips include revealing hidden dialogue in Mission 2 by shooting alcohol bottles, attacking vehicles in Mission 1 using rifles, shooting outside the training range by trapping Johanna, and attacking Carrington Association members during device training. Mysterious Dungeon. Shiren the Wanderer 2 tips reveal the secret diary's location for hints on creating the Firebird Demon Sword, and a peculiar observation of the blacksmith's daughter and warehouse clerk. The page also promotes submissions for the Dream Technique section, outlining submission methods, postcards/fax, prize levels, ranging from toy certificates and games to a simple thank you, and provides examples and contact information for submissions. The next page is titled Rokuyan Sondori Ukdori Shopping Street, focusing on tips for buying popular N64 games, especially with the Christmas and New Year season approaching. It guides readers on how to effectively pre-order and purchase games, mentioning options at game shops, convenience stores like Lawson, and major toy retailers such as Toys R Us. Featured prominently are details about acquiring anticipated titles like Pokemon Stadium 2 and Mario Party 3, along with Metal Slayer Glory Director's Cut, which was a Japan-exclusive release. The page includes screenshots from Metal Slayer Glory Director's Cut and Pokemon Stadium 2. A section titled, This Month, I'm Buying This, highlights a limited edition clear green Game Boy Color, and mentions Pokemon Crystal in relation to Pokemon Stadium 2. The Lawson's Loppy catalog is also shown, suggesting it as a purchasing avenue. There is also a shopkeeper's word section featuring a Game Boy Color and discussing game purchasing. The Famicom's light gun, the first peripheral for the console, saw modest success in Japan, but found greater popularity in America, particularly with games like Hogan's Alley. 3 main games utilize the light gun: Wild Gunman, Duck Hunt, and Hogan's Alley. Wild Gunman, a quick-draw game, pitted players against opponents in Western-style duels, requiring fast reflexes. Duck Hunt was a simple shooting game, where players shot ducks within a limited number of shots. Hogan's Alley was a gun-action game, where players had to accurately identify and shoot criminals while avoiding civilians. All 3 games offered different modes and challenges, providing diverse gameplay experiences. This month's Guardian's Consciousness Survey explores whether games hinder study. Riko Matsumoto believes games aren't a hindrance with proper study management, advocating for childhood enjoyment. Teresa's mother uses games as an incentive for her 4th grader, aiming for a joyful life beyond academics. Time's Brave Link, a parent of a 1st grader, allows his child to play games, hoping they develop focus and emphasizing parental supervision, comparing study to bread and games to sweets. Accompanying the survey is a CG illustration of a rider on horseback. The artist, despite feeling their skills are stagnant, created the image in response to the survey's positive reception to games. A forum is mentioned but currently inactive for feedback. This page is all about drawing 4-panel manga, or 4-koma manga, for the magazine. It seems to be a contest or a regular feature encouraging readers to submit their own manga. Bowser from the Mario series is used as a mascot for this section, with the title, Let's Draw 4-Koma Manga. Even I will try drawing. The page highlights the importance of originality and story ideas in manga, more so than just having beautiful drawings. It details different drawing tools, like dip pens and comic pens, and gives examples of coloring techniques using paints and markers. There's also advice about using pencils and avoiding ballpoint pens for inking, and instructions on how to submit your manga to the magazine by mail, including the address to send it to. The bottom panels show examples of comedic 4-koma manga featuring Bowser, demonstrating the kind of content they are looking for. This page is a reader's present section from 64Dream magazine. Readers can win various prizes, including a Game Boy Color console, Game Boy Color game Mario Tennis, or their choice of Nintendo 64 or Game Boy software. There's also a selection of Super Famicom games available as prizes, including Heisei Shin Onigashima, Sut Hakun, Wild Tracks, and Siren of the Wind. Other prizes include the N64 game Custom Robo V2 and Sin and Punishment for N64, Zelda's Legend figurines, Kirby coin cases, Zelda-themed backpacks from Alba, Japan, a Pokemon Game Boy carry bag, and a Pikachu Light for Game Boy Color are also up for grabs. To enter, readers need to fill out an application postcard with their desired prize and send it in by December 20, 2000. Winners will be announced in the March issue of 64Dream magazine, released in January. This page is a reader survey for 64Dream magazine, asking readers about their opinions on the current issue's cover and articles. Readers are asked to choose their favorite and least favorite articles from a list of topics including games like The Legend of Zelda, Mario Party 3, Pokemon Stadium, Banjo-Kazooie, Mega Man series, Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, and Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum. The survey also inquires about strategy guide purchasing habits and which N64 games readers wanted strategy guides for. It gauges interest in upcoming N64 games like Conker's Quest, Animal Crossing, Panel de Pon 64, and GBA games like Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, F-Zero for Game Boy Advance, Golden Sun, and Mario Kart Advance. The page announces the winners of a previous survey who received prizes like Pikachu N64 consoles, Super Famicom systems, N64 games such as Paper Mario, 64Dream magazines, and Game Boy Color systems. Lastly, there's a column discussing the upcoming Comic-Con event, offering advice for attendees, especially those new to the event. This page of the magazine highlights the upcoming February issue of 64Dream, slated for release on December 21st, Thursday, for 490 yen. The next menu section teases the content, featuring a N64 Software Perfect Catalog Millennium Edition and a Pokemon Stadium Gold/Silver and Banjo-Kazooie Year-End Software Special. The editor's voice section discusses various topics, including a trip to Korea, impressions of the Giants baseball team, issues with moving, and concerns about what game to play first in the 21st century. The Nintendo Stadium section promotes the January issue, also priced at 490 yen. Special Appendix highlights Pokemon Stadium Gold/Silver with strategy data and Pokemon Crystal, which analyzes original elements not found in Gold/Silver, and mentions other year-end Game Boy titles like Dragon Quest II and Meteorot 3. The staff list names the people involved in the magazine's production, covering roles from publisher and editor to design, photography, illustration, advertising, and printing. The bottom right section gives publication details for the 64Dream January issue, dated November 21, 2000, with contact information for the publisher, editorial department, and main office. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Monster Tactics, a hide-and-seek battle RPG. The game tasks players with exploring dungeons with limited visibility and time, where strategy and wit are key to finding and defeating monsters. It's advertised as a new sensation RPG and is set to be released on November 21st for 3,800 yen. The ad showcases artwork of characters and in-game screenshots depicting dungeon exploration and monster collection features. This page is an advertisement for Rockman Dash, also known internationally as Mega Man Legends for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game as Rockman Dash, Hegaman Dash, Mega Man Dash, Steel Adventure Mind. The advertisement features various characters from the game and screenshots, emphasizing its action elements. It notes the release date in Japan as November 22, 2000, with a standard price of 6,800 yen. The top text is a call to action for players who want action to gather around this game.